Hi Krishna, everyone. Um, I want to introduce to all of you my teacher Nityananda Pran Prabhu. He has been the one who has been helping me and guiding me for the past 10 plus years to move towards Krishna, and I'm happy that he is with us today. Mm, he is an active speaker, a leader, and counselor in the ISKCON Chicago community since 20 years. He leads college outreach efforts at the Illinois Institute of Technology, where his beloved presence for the past 14 years is helping the program grow into the university's most active student groups. He was previously the president of ISKCON centers in Chicago and Naperville. He is well known for incorporating storytelling to convey complex philosophical ideas in an easy and relatable manner. He's a certified parenting and couples coaching, helping his clients discover breakthroughs in parenting and relationships. So I would like to welcome him, and he will be giving a summary of chapter 2 of Bhagavad Gita to us today. So welcome, Prabhu, and you can take over.
Thank you, Seema. I'm very honored to be with you and summarize chapter 2 of Bhagavad Gita. I know Bhagavad Gita is a book that you study very seriously, and you've also been posting videos on your Facebook group. So I'm very honored to be invited by you and also your audience. Before we begin Bhagavad Gita, I would like to recite the invocation prayers. This you can find if you have the Bhagavad Gita in the introduction, the very first section, starting from page 1 of introduction. There are a series of verses offering prayers and requesting for the blessings of teachers and the other personalities all the way leading to Krishna. Om Ajnana Timirandhasya Jnananjana Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamahyam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yuta Padakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunathanvitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakhanvitamscha He Krishna Karuna Sindho Dinabandho Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Haripriye Vancha Kalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhya Evacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Srivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. The Bhagavad Gita is known also as Gita Upanishad. The word Upanishad literally is a philosophical work or the section of philosophy explained in the Vedas. And Vedas are the body of knowledge that for uncountable time have been providing a philosophical, religious, and more importantly, a spiritual basis for humanity. In Sanskrit, literally Upanishad, the word means that which is heard by sitting near or at the feet of a teacher. So, all of these philosophical teachings are to be learnt from a teacher. And because Krishna is the teacher and Arjuna is the student, this is called Gita Upanishad as well. Now, why should Arjuna hear from or learn from Krishna is the subject matter of the Bhagavad Gita. Chapter 2 begins with the greatest archer in the history of mankind, who's about to begin a war, at the brink of a war, a great fratricidal war, is sitting down with his bow fallen to the ground and crying. Sometimes we hear real men don't cry. In this case, Arjuna is such a strong warrior. He has defeated hundreds and hundreds and thousands of great warriors. But he himself today is crying. And the reason he is crying is that he is not able to make sense why he should fight the uncles, brothers, friends, cousins who are on the other side of the battlefield ready to fight him. He doesn't see a good reason. In fact, he sees 5 reasons why he should not fight. So the chapter begins by Krishna addressing Arjuna, who is in a very crying and piteous situation, by calling him Arjuna, Partha. By calling him Arjuna, Krishna is reminding him that he is actually a very great archer. And by calling him Partha, son of Pritha, Queen Kunti, he is reminding him that he comes from a very, very amazing lineage of very great persons. And therefore, Krishna asks Arjuna, why are you in such a condition when people like you have come from great families of great warriors, never hesitate to stand for what is right? And interestingly, the name that Krishna is addressed by Arjuna is Madhusudana. So just as Krishna addresses Arjuna with names as Partha to remind him of his greatness, Arjuna addresses him as Madhusudana to convey that you, Krishna, who killed the great demon Madhu, today I am being completely encompassed by big doubt and hesitation and reservation. So, can you please remove this big demon like doubt from me? And therefore addresses him as Madhusudana. Arjuna's main reason, or one of the main reasons for not fighting, is because his very, very worshipable and respectful teachers are standing ready on the other side of the battlefield. Great teachers like Bhishma and Drona. They took care of him since he was a child. They protected him. They taught him how to fight in a battle. They taught him moral. They taught him ethics, morality, ethics, dharma. Everything he knows pretty much has been taught by Bhishma and Drona. And so Arjuna says to Krishna, I am perplexed. I am confused. I don't know what to do. I don't know what to do for sure at all. So, Krishna, can you please accept me as your disciple and you become my guru? This is in the 7th verse of the chapter. And he says, Karpanya dosha pahata svabhava purchami tvam dharma samudha cheta. Yat shreyasya nishchitam bruhitan me shishyasteham sadhimam tvam prapannam. Karpanya dosha. My mind is becoming very, very weak. Pruchhami tvam. I am asking you. Dharma samudha. I am completely confused and perplexed as what is my dharma right now? What should I do? Yet Shreya, tell me something I should do by which I will gain actual benefit. And that benefit is not just for me, it will benefit others also. And only you can speak for sure. Shishyasteham, I become your disciple, I become your student. Shadhimam Tvam Prapannam. I'm just surrendering at your feet. Please take over. So the rest of the chapter from verses 12 onwards is Krishna speaking. And Arjuna asks one question later. Because Arjuna is confused about why he should fight the war, Krishna begins to address first his identity. Because if identity is not clear, then work is not clear. A common example is, let's suppose any of us gets a job at a company and we're very happy. But when we go to our workplace, we ask them, what is my title? And they will tell you, whoa, we don't have any titles. Okay. Am I in marketing? Am I in sales? Am I in purchase? Am I in HR? Am I in management? Where am I? Doesn't matter. Find a place, sit down anywhere you like, and do anything you like. And a person will be very confused. How can I contribute if I don't know what my title is? I don't know which department I belong to. Only then I know what my work is. So identity first and then work. When I know I am a father, my work is clear because as a father, I'm supposed to do something. When I'm a student, my work is clear. I'm supposed to study and pass my tests. If I'm a teacher, I'm supposed to teach my students. So I need an identity to do my work. And Arjuna is confused what his identity is. And Krishna, instead of telling him that your identity is that you are a warrior, from verse number 12 to 39, Krishna says, Arjuna, actually, you are the soul, Atma. We think we are this body, but we are not. We are Atma residing in the body. So Srila Prabhupada would give the example of a bird in a cage. There was an old lady, it seems, who bought a bird and a very beautiful cage for that bird, golden cage. And first day, second day, third day, she cleaned the cage very, very nicely with soap, shiny polish. About 3 days later, when she came to polish the cage, she saw the bird lying upside down, dead. And she wondered, I'm taking care of the cage every day. Why the bird died? And then it dawned on her that yes, she's taking care of the cage, but not feeding the bird. So Krishna is telling us, and Prabhupada through this story is telling us, that the soul is like the bird who's in this cage called the body. And everybody is busy taking care of the cage and not feeding the soul. As long as the Atma is in the body, this body is animated. It can see, it can speak, it can hear, touch, taste, smell, think, laugh, cry, go to work, play, do all sorts of things. But when the soul leaves, this body is immovable. It has no value. It starts to decay. Therefore, it must be either burned or buried. So the value is not so much for the body only, but it is for the soul residing in the body. After that, the body has no value. Another example is if I calculate the value of all the chemicals in my body, iron, sodium, magnesium, calcium, etc., I can tell that it's about $20 or $23 worth. And when a person sits in a car that's about $50,000 of value, and when something happens like an accident, then everybody is concerned not about the car, but about the person. Are you okay? It's okay if the car got smashed, but are you okay? From a purely financial perspective, somebody might say the value of chemicals is only $23, but the value of the car is $50,000. It doesn't make any sense. It makes sense because life has no value, it is invaluable. And what we call life is Atma. And Krishna speaks to Arjuna first that you are the soul, not this body. And then from there on, up until verse 39, he gives the value of the soul and some descriptions. Now, the soul cannot be seen, it cannot be touched. We don't know how it looks, yet we know its presence by the symptoms it generates. Now, someone may say, well, if I cannot see the soul, it cannot exist. And the answer is that's true that we can't see the soul, but there are many things that we cannot see, but they still exist. For example, sound for the human being exists only between 20 hertz and about 20,000 hertz. But sound exists in frequencies below 20 and above 20,000. The whole satellite technology is about waves, sound waves above 20,000. In fact, animals and birds can hear sound waves. So just because I cannot hear it, I cannot say it doesn't exist. Or the mind. Nobody has seen the mind. Nobody has seen the intelligence. But just because I don't see it, I can't say it doesn't exist. There are symptoms by which I know that I'm thinking or someone else is thinking. Similarly, the presence of the soul is understood by or recognized by the symptoms of life and being alive. So Krishna then describes that before one can do anything in life, it is important to do an analytical study of reality. And that reality must be compared side by side with that which is temporary, because both are important. The eternal soul residing in this temporary body is very important because it is this temporary body that works like a vehicle to help me get out of it. This is called analytical study. And then the question is, so what do I do from such an analytical study? Then Krishna speaks the next section of Bhagavad Gita chapter 2, verses 40 to 53. Now that you know you're not this body, you are meant to live and work based on that identity. So the question is, hey, what is the work of a soul? And that very question is the basis of all Upanishads. And that question is also the basis of the rest of the Bhagavad Gita. So chapter 3, 4, 5, 6 onwards, all the way to chapter 18 is Krishna describing to Arjuna what are the activities of a soul? What are some of the challenges in the soul acting in the consciousness of a soul? Are there any challenges? Are there any hurdles? What happens if somebody is not able to fully realize themselves as a spiritual being? What happens if they get distracted? What happens if they get deviated, etc., etc.? What are some natural forces that work against a person? So the Bhagavad Gita according to one of our teachers, Baladev Vidyabhushana, says that there are 5 topics that are covered in the Bhagavad Gita. The living entity, that is you and me and everyone else who's hearing this. Prakriti, material nature around us. We see the sun rising, the moon, the sky, the stars, earth, water, fire, air, etc. How all these elements combine to form different shapes and forms. Is there God? And what is God's role when it comes to this entire world? Does he participate in it? Does he control it? Does he let people do whatever they want? Does he own this world? Etc. etc. Then there is the great entity called time. Generally, when we talk of time, we tend to look at our wristwatch because it tells us how many hours have passed. We look at a calendar for time, what year, what month, what day, etc. But is that time? That is only time like in a photo. But how does time influence us? Consider, what if we did not have clocks? What if we did not have calendars? Would time still exist? The answer is yes. And a human being from the beginning has tried to calculate time and has understood that time is more valuable than money. The reason time is more valuable than money is because everybody in this world has limited time. And the wonderful feature is nobody knows how much time one has left. We all know how much money we have. We all look at our bank to see the balance, but nobody can look at our time to know how much is balance. Sometimes when I speak at universities, I give the example like we are walking in a dark tunnel and a train is coming at us from the other side at high speed with no headlight. We know a train is coming. We just don't know how close it is, when it will hit us. And when it hits us, we call it death. Many people are afraid of death because it completely stops everything that we are doing, takes away everything that we have. Anything that I have a sense of what is mine goes away with death. And in this time, the 5th topic of the Bhagavad Gita is karma. What am I supposed to do? And what I do, what consequences does it have upon me? For us to understand all those aspects in Bhagavad Gita, we need to appreciate chapter 2 because it is the foundational chapter. It is like to enjoy flowers in a garden, you have to first plant the saplings. You have to prepare the soil. You have to make sure there is ample sunlight and water. So chapter 2 is preparing the bed for the flowers to finally sprout, the plants to sprout and flowers to bloom. And one of the lessons Krishna tells Arjuna is to be able to understand how life is moving, one needs to be stable in one's consciousness and not get disturbed. That stability of consciousness is called sthita pragya. So Arjuna is curious. How will I know who is sthita pragya person? How do they speak? How do they walk? Meaning, what is their behavior like? Will I be able to identify somebody as the sthita pragya? What is the distinction? Can you please tell me, Arjuna, Krishna? So Krishna answers Arjuna starting from text 54 through 72. That's where the chapter ends. And Krishna roughly describes that a sthita pragya is a person who is always steady and undisturbed in any situation of life. Sometimes when people are very, very happy, they go out of control. They will drink, they will party to such a degree that they forget what they are doing. When they are sad, their mind gets so disturbed that they sometimes even want to kill themselves. But a Sthita Pragya is who learns not to get disturbed too much. Disturbance can be there. After all, we are living beings. But the disturbance is only little. The variance is only little. To give an example, Krishna says that a Sthita Pragya is like a tortoise, has his hands and legs and head outside the shell, looking here and there when needed, and when not needed, it can pull everything inside, and all you see is a shell. So, Sthita Pragya is a person who knows when to engage with the world and when to withdraw. And not knowing this, people create problems for themselves by engaging with the world in a wrong time or by withdrawing when it is not supposed to be withdrawn. Third is that a Sthita Pragya is very much centered on God, on spiritual principles. That means they are theistic. They have a value system that guides their thinking. And ultimately, whatever happens, they see everything in relation to God. If one cannot see in relation to God, one can be very disturbed. Now, to see in relation to God, one should know how God operates. Otherwise, one might think that God is meant to do this for me when that's not how it happens. There was a person in a village that got flooded, and this person had great belief in God. So, as the village was getting flooded, all his neighbors wanted to evacuate the village. So they came running to him and said, "Let's get out. Water level is rising." And this man said, "No, my God will come to help me." So they all left and he stayed back, waiting for God to help him. Then the water level was rising even further. So he went and sat on the roof of his house. So some rescue workers came in a boat looking for anyone who's there to take them out of that situation. They saw this man on the roof of the house and said, "Jump on in, come on over. We're going to row this boat away to safety. Please come." And he said, "No, I'm waiting for God to come and help me." The persons tried to plead with him and he didn't want to hear. So they left. The water level was rising even further. Finally, a rescue helicopter came looking for any survivors. And they saw only this one man on his house. They threw a ladder down and told him, "Get on that ladder, we'll fly you to safety." He said, "No, I'm waiting for God to help me. I have full trust and faith that God will help me." The water level rose even further and the man drowned and died. Because he had a lot of faith in God, he got an opportunity to meet God. But he was very angry. And he said to God, I have been so faithful to you. I thought you will come and help me. In fact, everyone else was running away, but I stayed and waited for you, but you never came. And God said, "You're a fool. I came 3 times. First, as the villagers, I came to tell you, get out of the situation. Then, as the boatsman, and then finally, the helicopter. Also, I sent." So, not being able to understand how God operates may cause some confusion for persons. So, it's important to know. And that is why the Bhagavad Gita, Krishna explains who he is and what are his likes and dislikes, how he operates with this world and those who are trying to understand him and reach him. Another quality of Sthita Pragya, as I said before, is to not be disturbed in the most disturbing situations. in the most disturbing circumstances. When the going is good, everybody is well behaved. But when the going gets tough, can we be well behaved? And only those who can are called Sthita Pragya. Then Krishna explains that a Sthita Pragya is a person who knows how to restrict their senses, their tongue, their eyes, their ears, their behaviors, their thoughts, needs to be controlled. Generally, we are under the control of our thoughts and our bodily urges. It seems one time the teeth and the tongue had an argument, and the teeth told the tongue, listen, you're only one tongue. We are 32 teeth. Okay? And every time we are chewing food, you're somehow escaping. But be very careful. If we want, we can bite you very hard and you will bleed. So don't mess with us. We are 32 and you're one. And the tongue replied, so what if you are 32? If I speak even one word that is not pleasing to the other person, they can punch you and all 32 will fall off immediately. So controlling our urges, restricting to know what to say, when to say, how much to say, where to say, who to speak to, what to speak, what's the content of our speech. Are we uttering speech that is hurtful? Are we uttering speech that is making someone else feel sad or low or degraded? Or are we speaking in a way that they feel appreciated, acknowledged, inspired? All depends on how much we're able to control, for example, our speech. What to speak of, what we eat, how much we eat, how we live, what we do. All of this is driven by the mind and the pushing of the mind. And a sage or a Sthita Pragya is one who learns how to stand and not get pushed by the desires that the mind is constantly putting out. And to be able to do that, Krishna describes that one needs a higher taste. This is verse 59. Generally, when we think control, we think to stop. So, controlling or restricting the senses is not stopping the senses, but directing them in the right direction. Many people who come to spirituality get confused between what is control of senses. Most people think I should stop having any thoughts. Meditation means make the mind blank. You try. There is no person in creation who can make the mind blank, because the mind is blank only on one time, when a person is dead. But mind control means to have clean thoughts and direct those clean thoughts towards God. And in 62 and 63 verses, Krishna gives a little warning sign. What happens when a person's mind is now meditating on or contemplating how to enjoy in this world? He gives an 8-step formula that thoughts make a person attached to the idea with expectations. Now, expectations don't get usually fulfilled. And from then on, the different stages by which a person falls from a higher nature to a very lower nature, where they become angry, frustrated, they want vengeance, etc. And finally, Krishna describes that a Sthita Pragya is like an ocean. There are many, many rivers that are constantly filling the ocean with tons and tons of water. But the ocean never crosses its boundary, never crosses its shore. Similarly, a Sthita Pragya may get lot of inputs, lot of sensory data coming in, but their consciousness never crosses the boundary or the shore of dharma. So to know where the shore is, one should know what dharma is. And the first step of dharma is to know what one should do in one's life, how to live one's life. And that is chapter 3 of Bhagavad Gita. Karma Yoga teaches us how to live our life by working for or in service to Vishnu. So this pretty much is the summary of chapter 2. I hope you will be inspired to study chapter 2. There are very, very beautiful shlokas that are very useful on a day-to-day basis to live by, to learn, and to practice them. And hopefully that your journey into discovering and unraveling the adventure in Bhagavad Gita will move without any obstacles. So thank you for giving me that opportunity to summarize chapter 2.
Thank you so much, Prabhu. I just jotted some quick points from the session, so wanted to share with everybody. My understanding of the summary of chapter 2 is Arjuna is asking a question saying, Krishna, please guide me because I am perplexed and I don't know what to do. And
Yes.
Krishna talks to Arjuna about his identity, surprisingly, his identity being a soul, and going from there, what is the function of a soul? And to understand this, Krishna talks in the Bhagavad Gita about 5 important topics, which uh, is living entity, the Prakriti, material energy, God, time, and our karma. And to understand how life is moving, one needs to be stable. So you went to the Sthita Pragya section and explained the Sthita Pragya section very nicely. I know it's your favorite section. And then he said, how do I identify people who are stable? Arjuna is asking a question. And Krishna says, a Sthita Pragya, or a person who is stable, is always undisturbed in happiness and distress. And like a tortoise, he knows when to engage with the world and when to withdraw. He is always centered on God, and he knows how God operates. I like the story of the person sitting on his rooftop waiting for God to come. So, yeah, thank you so much for taking your time and being with us today. I'm privileged and honored to have you on our session.
Likewise, I'm very honored and happy to be with you, and I wish you the very best as you are studying and teaching the Bhagavad Gita.
Thank you for this.
Hare Krishna.
Hare
Thank you.
Krishna.